Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the Deep End, everyone. You are listening to The Deep Dive.
Ready to go.
I'm your host, ready to jump off the cliff of the known world.
And I'm your co-pilot, here to make sure we pack a parachute. Or, at least a very detailed map.
We are the show where we take a stack of dense, complex, and, let's be honest, sometimes downright strange information articles, research, dusty old books, and we do the heavy lifting.
So you don't have to.
We squeeze the juice out of the orange so you can just drink the smoothie.
That is a very vivid metaphor to start the day.
I try, but seriously, today we are going off-road. We are leaving the paved streets of conventional reality and taking a hard left turn into, well, Twilight Zone doesn't even quite cover it.
No, it's definitely a departure from the mundane. We are looking at a reality that supposedly sits right on top of ours.
Buzzing away.
Yeah, completely unnoticed by most of us most of the time.
It's relaxed, it's chilling, and honestly, it's got some humor in it, too. We're keeping the vibes good today, even if we're talking about disembodied electrical blobs.
Which is surprisingly an accurate, scientific-sounding description of what we're covering.
Right. But before we jump in, just a quick housekeeping note. This deep dive is distributed completely free of charge.
On all major platforms.
And it's for educational purposes. We are here to learn, to expand our minds, and to share this journey with you. We aren't selling a dogma, we're just exploring the archives.
And we are speaking directly to you, the learner. Whether you're on a commute, washing dishes, or just, staring at the ceiling wondering what reality actually is.
You're in the right place.
You're among friends.
So let's introduce the source. Today, we are cracking open the archives. We are looking at the Seth Material. Specifically, we are zooming in on session 122 from the early sessions, book 3.
A fascinating period in the material. This is vintage stuff.
The date of record is January 18th, 1965. Picture it. It's a Monday night, 9 o'clock. We're in Elmira, New York. We've got Jane Roberts, the author and medium.
And her husband, Robert Butts, whom Seth calls Joseph.
And for those who might be new to this, Jane would go into a trance state and speak for an entity known as Seth.
And Rob would just sit there with a pen and paper, furiously transcribing everything she said. It's pre-internet, pre-smartphone.
Right. Just a couple in a room with the universe.
Yeah.
And the mission for this specific deep dive, we're going to unpack Seth's explanation of something he calls the electrical field.
Which is not just about, lightning or wiring. This is a fundamental restructuring of how we view the universe.
No, this is about a reality that exists right alongside our physical one. And the kicker, Seth claims our thoughts, those things you think are just private little whispers in your head, are actually independent electrical objects.
Objects that can travel through time.
Yeah. Time-traveling thought spheres. We're going to get into all of that. But let's start where the session starts. Let's set the scene with Jane.
Right. So before the session even begins, we get a glimpse into Jane's state of mind. It's at 11:30 in the morning on that Monday.
Okay.
And Jane is trying something called psychological time, which is a sort of meditative practice they did to, alter their consciousness.
And she reports this sensation. She says she felt an extreme feeling of weightlessness.
Not just lightheadedness.
Yeah.
Actual weightlessness.
She describes it as having no sense of physical pressure on the bed. Instead, she felt suspension, like she was just floating there.
Which is really interesting because she's describing a dissociation from the physical senses. Usually you feel the mattress pushing up against your back. That's gravity. That's mass.
Right. That's the data input.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Jane is tuning into a state where that data input gravity is being muted.
It's almost like she was in a sensory deprivation tank before those were even a mainstream thing.
That's a great way to put it. She was turning down the volume on the physical world. And she notes that in recent experiments, she'd been feeling a lot of vibration and movement right before a session started.
It's like the engine revving up.
It is, like her internal frequency was changing.
But here's the thing that always cracks me up about Jane Roberts. She notes in the record that she did not feel well. She was feeling under the weather. But what does she do? She decides to attempt the session anyway.
That is dedication. Or maybe just stubbornness. I'm not sure which.
I mean, if I have a sniffle, I'm canceling my meetings, I'm on the couch with soup.
Right.
Jane is like, I feel terrible. Let me just channel an interdimensional energy personality for 3 hours.
It really speaks to the discipline involved. People think of this mystical work as being all flowy and easy, but there's a real grit to it. She treated it like a job.
Yeah, the mail must get through, rain or shine.
Pretty much.
Absolute grit. So the session starts. It's 9 p.m. And Seth immediately comments on the procedure. Apparently, they're trying a new method. Jane is sitting quietly, eyes closed, speaking in a normal voice.
Which was a big shift. In the very early sessions, Jane would sometimes pace around the room. Her voice would change dramatically. Her eyes would be wide open. It was very theatrical.
Flamboyant, I think, is the word Seth uses.
Exactly. Seth calls the previous methods flamboyant, but he likes this new, quieter method. He says it has advantages.
Less draining, I bet.
For one, yes. And it probably allows for a clearer signal. It's like switching from a dial-up connection that makes all those screeching noises to a silent fiber optic line.
That is a great analogy, and he drops this little nugget of wisdom about consistency. He tells them that their interest in these sessions has to compete with ordinary daily life.
Right, jobs, bills, making dinner. Energy fluctuates.
Totally.
And Seth says, the regularity of our sessions is our best insurance that they will continue.
It's a very practical piece of advice.
It is. If you want to maintain a connection to something abstract or difficult, whether it's learning a language, working out, or channeling, you need a schedule.
You can't just wait for inspiration to strike.
Exactly. Inspiration is for amateurs. Professionals show up.
But then, and I love this, he gives them an out. He tells Rob, you are free to call off a session if you want.
That's the no pressure rule.
He basically says, do it because you want to, not because you feel bound to. He says, you should have them because you want them. Anything else would defeat their purpose.
That's such an important psychological point. If this work becomes a chore, if it becomes just another obligation, the energy shifts. The whole intent becomes heavy.
Yeah.
Seth seems to be saying that enthusiasm and curiosity are actually part of the fuel that makes this communication possible.
It's like, don't make me a task on your to-do list.
Precisely. If it's a chore, the connection degrades. The channel gets clogged with resentment or fatigue.
Okay, so that's the vibe check. Jane is weightless but sick. Rob is taking notes, and Seth is saying, relax, let's just do this. Now let's get into the meat of it, the electrical field.
This is where we have to stretch our brains a bit. Seth starts talking about fields of actuality.
He says our physical world is just one field, but it's an open system.
And that concept of an open system is crucial. In physics, a closed system is isolated, nothing in, nothing out. An open system exchanges energy and matter with its surroundings.
So our reality isn't a closed bubble.
No, it's permeable. Things can come in and go out.
But, and this is the big catch, there is a transformation rule.
Yes. He explains that when a force enters a new field, it has to transform to match the data of that field.
So it's like, if I have a strict English-only classroom and a French speaker walks in, they have to start speaking English to be understood.
That's a good analogy. Or think of it like currency. If you have a stack of Japanese yen, that's value, that's energy, and you walk into a grocery store in Kansas.
You can't buy anything.
You can't. The force, the value is there, but the data form is wrong. You have to go to the bank and exchange the yen for dollars.
Okay. The value remains, but the form transforms to match the system you are entering.
You got it.
So energy comes into our physical world, and it has to put on a matter costume to exist here.
Exactly. Seth says our plane is dominated by matter. That's our currency. But he says there is another field, intimately allied with ours, where the dominating data is not matter.
It's the electrical field.
Right. In this other field, electrical force is the main method by which inner energy expresses itself.
And Seth calls this field one of the close planets to our system. Now, he's not talking about Mars or Venus, right? This is an analogy.
No, not at all. He says, comparing the whole setup to your known physical universe, the electrical field would be one of the close planets of your own system.
So it's nearby.
He means it's nearby in terms of dimension and connection. It's a neighbor. It orbits us, conceptually.
A neighbor where everyone is made of electricity.
Yes. He says, personality gestalts within this field are built up electrically, with electric components, without physical matter.
Personality gestalts. That's a fancy way of saying people or entities, isn't it?
Yep.
Essentially, beings, consciousnesses. But instead of bones and skin, they are built of voltage and current.
He also says something kind of spooky. He says, your own personalities in some manners exist within this field.
That's the interdependence. We aren't just here, we have a foothold there, too.
So we're not separate.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Seth says, a failure to survive in one system threatens survival in the other.
So we're like dual citizens.
In a way. We have a passport for the physical world and a passport for the electrical world, even if we're only conscious of the physical one right now.
We are straddling the border.
We are.
That is wild. It makes you wonder what your electric self is doing right now while your physical self is listening to this.
It's probably processing the data. Seth says in that field, possibilities and actualities are electrically computed.
What does that even mean, electrically computed?
It sounds almost like a high-speed processing center for reability, like our choices and potentials are being run through simulations there before they ever manifest here.
A cosmic server farm.
With us as the data streams. Okay, so we've got this neighbor reality, the electric field. Let's talk about the body, because 6 gets very specific about what a body looks like in this electric field. And honestly, it's kind of terrifying if you visualize it.
It's certainly alien to our usual way of thinking. It challenges our body image in the most extreme way.
So first off, the connection. How does our physical body talk to this electric body?
Nerve impulses. Seth says the nerve impulses lead and connect the two fields continually.
They're the bridge?
They are the bridge. Every time your neuron fires, it's basically sending a message across the border.
So our nervous system is like the modem. It's the hardware that connects to the internet of the electrical field.
Exactly. It translates the signal.
Okay. But then he describes the electric body itself.
Right.
He says if you saw your body in the electrical field, you wouldn't recognize it.
No, not at all. He says it has a peculiar mass, but no weight.
Imagine that. Mass without weight. That's physics-breaking stuff right there.
In our physics, sure. Mass usually equates to weight because of gravity. But in an electrical system, gravity isn't the boss.
Right.
Electrical attraction is. So the body is a concentration of force. It has heft or intensity, but gravity doesn't pull on it. It floats.
Which explains Jane's feeling of weightlessness earlier that day.
Bingo. That's the connection. She was tuning into the sensation of her electrical body. She was feeling the no-weight reality.
And he says it's defined by varying intensities and concentrations of force, not by shape.
Right.
So you're not a man-shaped lightning bolt. You're more like a cloud of changing intensity.
A shifting field of energy. Imagine a heat map where you see red spots for high heat and blue for cool. Your electric body is a 3D heat map of electrical intensity.
But here's the detail that really struck me.
Yeah.
Seth breaks down the anatomy.
He does, and this is where it gets really weird.
This is the part, the no-skin reveal.
Yes. He says the brain exists physically, but it also is part of the mind in the electric structure. The organs exist electrically.
Okay, so you have an electric liver, an electric heart. I can sort of picture that, but...
But, he says, the skin does not exist within this electric counterpart.
Wait, what? No skin?
No skin.
That is visceral. I mean, literally visceral. That makes me feel exposed.
Well, think about what skin is. The skin is a container. It's a boundary for the physical world.
It holds all the bits in.
Right. It holds the fluids in. It keeps the bacteria out. It defines where you end and the world begins.
It's the sac that holds the meat.
Crude, but accurate. But in an electrical field, you don't need a sac. You don't have blood to spill. You don't have bacteria to fight. The field holds itself together through attraction and charge.
So the skin is just irrelevant.
It's a physical world-only piece of equipment. It's a barrier that isn't needed there.
So let's just banter about this for a second. Imagine you are this weightless, intense, organ-filled electrical blob. That is the real you in the next dimension.
It sounds like a horror movie monster, but from the inside, it probably feels like pure energy, pure potential. You aren't confined by a shell. You are open to the universe in a way we can't really comprehend here.
It's the ultimate freeing experience. Maybe that's what Jane was feeling that morning, that weightlessness.
A very strong possibility.
Maybe she was tuning into her electric counterpart a little bit.
That's what it sounds like. If she was entering a trance state, she might have been loosening her focus on the physical container, the skin and bone, and sensing that weightless electric reality underneath.
It gives a whole new meaning to crawling out of your skin. You're just shifting fields.
I suppose you could say that. But Seth emphasizes that this electric form is powerful. He says such manifestations in the electric field are much more powerful in terms of intensity per mass unit than anything you know.
Intensity per mass unit. That sounds like something a physicist would say. It sounds very technical.
It implies that our physical bodies are actually the diluted versions. We are the low-voltage models.
We're running on batteries.
The electric body is the high-voltage, high-performance version that's plugged directly into the wall.
We're the eco mode, and that's the sport mode.
Exactly. We are stepped down so we don't blow the fuses of the physical world.
Okay, so we have this skinless, high-voltage body. But what is it doing? This brings us to probably the most mind-bending part of this session. Thoughts.
This is where Seth completely dismantles our modern understanding of psychology and really of reality itself.
We tend to think of thoughts as nothing.
Right.
It's just a thought, it's ephemeral, it's smoke, it happens in the brain, and then it's gone.
We view thoughts as private, internal, subjective experiences that just vanish once we stop thinking them.
Seth says, wrong.
He says in the electrical field, thoughts and emotions are not abstract. They are definite charged action.
He calls them ever-moving spheres. Spheres like bubbles or orbs.
Or planets, or ball lightning. He says they are more or less independent electric systems.
So, I have a thought. Let's say I'm thinking, I really want a pizza. In the electrical field, I have just birthed a spinning sphere of electricity that contains the concept of wanting pizza.
Yes, and because it's an electrical action, it has reality. He says thoughts are more directly perceived in that field than in ours.
That's terrifying.
Wow.
Because I have a lot of thoughts I don't want people to perceive. If I'm in the electrical field and my thoughts are giant glowing spheres floating around me, there's no privacy.
Well, Seth implies that in that field, emotions and thoughts act directly upon the environment. There are no intermediary steps.
What do you mean?
In our world, if you are angry, you have to frown or yell or punch a wall for that anger to be real to someone else.
Right. I translate the anger into matter action.
But in the electric field, the anger is the action. It exists immediately as an electrical force. It's vivid. It's tangible.
So if I'm angry there, I'm basically throwing lightning bolts of rage instantly.
Effectively, yes.
Okay, note to self. Stay calm when I die and move to the electric field.
But here is where it gets even stranger. The durability of a thought.
Yeah, this part. Seth says a human thought exists as an independent electrical action and continues to exist long after it leaves the thinker.
Think about the conservation of energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed.
Okay, sure. Physics 101.
Seth is applying this to consciousness. You generate a thought. That is energy. It doesn't just poof out of existence. It continues on.
It goes on a road trip. It leaves the nest.
And its lifespan, its durability, depends on one thing.
The initial charge, the intensity.
Exactly, the intensity. If you have a fleeting, weak thought like, oh, look, a blue car, that might have a low charge. It might dissipate quickly or simply be very weak.
But if you have a thought of intense passion or deep grief or massive rage,
That's a high voltage thought.
and that gets a big battery pack.
That thought is given a massive charge. And Seth says that charge can propel the thought through time.
This is the time travel part, and I want to make sure we get this right because Seth is very, very specific here.
He is. He says this electric charge can propel the thought through the apparent dimensions of your physical time.
And then he drops the bomb. He says it can exist simultaneously within your past and your present.
Now, we have to pause here because our linear brains want to say, okay, so there's one thought in the past and a copy of it in the present.
Right. Duplicate files. One in the 1990 folder, one in the 2025 folder. Simple.
Seth says no. He says, and I'm quoting here, it is not to say that it becomes two electric actions. Rather, the one electric action or thought is simultaneously projected through a peculiarity of its axis, so that it appears within your field, not in two places at once, but in two times at once.
A peculiarity of its axis. That sounds like sci-fi technobabble, but coming from Seth, it feels like a physics lesson we just haven't learned yet.
It really does. Imagine a spinning top, spinning on an axis. If you could tilt that axis in a dimension we don't understand.
Like a fourth dimension?
Maybe. If you could tilt it, the top could technically touch two different points on a timeline without moving its location. It's bending the medium of time itself.
Or think about a lighthouse. If the lighthouse spins fast enough, the beam hits the north shore and the south shore effectively at the same time.
Okay, yeah.
It's one beam, but it's illuminating two places.
That's a great analogy. Seth is describing a geometry of thought that connects points in time.
So let's apply this to real life. What does this mean for the learner listening right now? I mean, what are the implications?
It suggests that your intense thoughts from 10 years ago, that heartbreak, that moment of triumph, are not gone. They're not just memories.
So they're not just in my head.
They are electrical objects that might still be active right now, projected into this moment.
So I might be walking through the debris of my own past thoughts, like emotional ghosts.
Or your future thoughts. If time is simultaneous in this view, an intense thought you'll have in the future could be projecting back to now.
Whoa. So if I suddenly get a weird feeling or flash of an idea, It might be a sphere from my future self crashing into my present moment.
It's entirely possible within this framework. It completely blurs the line between memory, premonition, and external influence.
It also makes you want to be really, really careful about what you think.
Absolutely. If thoughts are independent objects that stick around, you don't want to be littering your mental environment with toxic waste.
Don't litter.
But for your brain.
Exactly. Clean up your electrical neighborhood, because you have to live in it.
This leads us right into the conflict with science. Because Seth isn't shy about saying, hey, your scientists are missing a few things.
No, he's quite direct. He says, regardless of current scientific thought, there are at least 3 different kinds of electric force which your scientists have not yet discovered.
3. Not just one we missed. 3 distinct types.
And he says one of these specific forces governs how thoughts translate from the intangible mind to the physical brain. That's the holy grail of neuroscience, isn't it? The hard problem of consciousness. How does mind become brain-meat activity?
Exactly. We can see the brain fire on an fMRI. We can map the neurons. But we have no idea how the subjective feeling of love turns into that chemical firing.
We see the effect, not the cause.
Precisely. And Seth is saying there is a missing electrical force, a specific type of electricity that does the translation.
It's the adapter plug we haven't found yet.
That's a good way to put it, and he critiques the materialistic view pretty hard. He says scientists only study electricity and chemistry in relation to matter.
Right. We study how electricity moves through a copper wire, or how chemicals react in a beaker. We always need the physical stuff to see the energy.
Seth says they do not realize that these systems have universe actualities of their own.
Universe actualities. That's a great phrase. It implies they're their own thing.
He's saying electricity doesn't need a wire to exist as a reality. Chemistry doesn't need physical fluids to exist as a reality. They are independent universes.
They could hang out by themselves.
And then he flips the script. He says, the electrical and chemical worlds could exist without matter, but matter cannot exist without them.
So matter is the dependent variable. It's the bottom of the totem pole.
Ouch. Take that, materialist. It completely inverts the standard scientific hierarchy.
How so?
We think matter is the real stuff, and energy is just what matter does. Seth says energy is the real stuff, and matter is just a temporary frozen expression of it.
It's like saying the video game code is the reality, and the pixels on the screen are just the projection.
Perfect.
The pixels can't exist without the code, but the code exists perfectly fine without the screen.
That is a perfect analogy. The electrical field is the code. The physical field is the screen.
And we are all just staring at the screen, obsessing over the pixels, while the code is running the show in the background.
And occasionally we feel weightless, or we have a time-traveling thought, and we get a little glimpse of the code.
Man, this is heavy stuff for a Monday night in 1965.
It's heavy stuff for us today. We're still catching up to this.
True. So let's try to synthesize this. Let's pull it all together. What does all this mean? We've gone from Jane feeling floaty to skinless electric bodies to thoughts that are spinning spheles of time-traveling lightning.
And the 3 missing forces of science. Don't forget those.
Right. If I'm a listener and I'm just trying to get through my week, why does this matter? What is the so what here?
I think it matters because it expands the definition of you.
Okay, expand on that.
We often feel small. We feel trapped in our bodies, trapped in time, trapped in our circumstances. This perspective says, you are not trapped. You are a multidimensional event. You have a component that is weightless and powerful. You have thoughts that are durable enough to defy time. You are part of an open system, not a closed one.
It gives you back your power. It makes you feel less like a victim of circumstance.
It does. It suggests that your internal life, your thoughts, your intent, your emotions is actually more real and more durable than the chair you're sitting on.
And it also explains why sometimes reality feels glitchy or just weird.
Because it is. It's a translation. And sometimes the translation has hiccups or delays.
Like when you walk into a room and forget why you're there. Maybe your electrical body just stayed in the other room for a second.
Laughs. Or maybe a thought seer from yesterday just knocked you off course. Who knows?
So here's a thought pun intended to leave you with. A provocative nugget to chew on.
Let's hear it.
If thoughts are independent electrical actions that persist based on their intensity, is the atmosphere around us crowded with the electric ghosts of everyone's intense thoughts?
That is a chilling thought.
Are we walking through a fog of other people's electric debris? When you walk into a house where a couple just had a huge fight and you say, you could cut the tension with a knife, are you actually sensing the ever-moving spheres of their anger bouncing off the walls?
I think Seth would say yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely yes. You are sensing the electrical reality of their emotions, which are still hanging there, waiting to dissipate.
So maybe we need to open a window, let some of those spheres out.
Or just generate some high-intensity positive spheres to neutralize them.
I like that better. Fight fire with fire. Or, fight electricity with electricity.
Exactly. Be the lighthouse that clears the fog.
This has been a wild ride. If you want to go straight to the source, and we highly, highly recommend you do because we are just scratching the surface here, you need to check out the Seth Material.
Specifically, this was session 122, and we want to credit the publisher, New Awareness Network, for keeping this material available for all of us.
You can find the books and dive deeper at sethcenter.com/the early sessions. Go to the bookstore. Look for the early sessions. It's a treasure trove.
It really is. There is nothing else quite like it.
And hey, thanks for diving deep with us today. We know it was a weird one, but those are the best ones, right?
They're the most fun. Keep asking questions.
Yeah.
Keep testing your reality.
And until the next deep dive, keep your voltage up.
Goodbye.
See you later.